ponytail guy. Slow-mo ponytail guy. Slow-mo ponytail guy. He likes to talk to strangers, telling tales of his wondrous ponytail. Slow-mo ponytail guy. Slow-mo ponytail guy. Slow-mo ponytail guy. He likes to skip along, letting his ponytail flop up and down.
Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Tuesday, March 23rd. I'm J.E. Skeets, rolling this morning with my top shot hot boy, Trey Kirby.
Heyo!
Hey!
Yo! Yes, let that ponytail flow.
Ponytail
Shout
guy.
out to my buddy Rob Armstrong coming through with that cold open. We also got the international man of mystery taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Last but not least, making the magic happen is JD.
Hello.
There he is. Here we are. Shout out to the stream team joining us live right now on YouTube. Guys, please like and comment and subscribe to No Dunks on YouTube. And make sure you check out last night's Top Shot Hot Boys. Trey and I were ripping some mad packs. So many packs were ripped. Thanks to everybody that joined us. You can go watch that again on the No Dunks YouTube channel. And check out Tass's What You Need to Know Monday through Friday this week. A banger once again there this morning from TK and JD very early. You can join them at 7 a.m. Eastern live if you'd like to. Okay, email us your questions and comments for the Beach Steppin' Podcasts, nodunks@theathletic.com to email them in. We're going to hit the sand later today, about 3:30, I believe, Eastern. Yes. Yeah, a little bit later, but that'll be live on YouTube. And then, of course, that podcast will be in your podcast feed, Beach Steppin'. But always get your questions in, nodunks@theathletic.com. And finally, immaculate items available for sale over at nodunks.com. JD's got the purple No Dunks basketball tee on. I got the crew neck on. So go grab your merchandise there and rep the No Dunks brand. Okay, let's start today with a juicy trade rumor. Yes. We got a nice, juicy one coming in here today. Trey, get us started, man. Address this. The Celtics emerge as frontrunners to land the Orlando Magic's Aaron Gordon. Marcus Smart could be going back. Evan Fournier could also be included, maybe in a sort of second deal between Boston and Orlando. What's your take on this juicy, juicy rumor?
Oh, it's official. We're in trade deadline season. If the Celtics are closing in on a trade, feels so right to me. But Skeetsy, I actually believe this one. Yeah. The Celtics, they got a bunch of movable pieces. Marcus Smart rumored to be in the deal, as you mentioned. They've got all their own picks. They've got the biggest trade exception in history, a use it or lose it kind of thing. But most importantly, the Celtics have a need to make a trade. They're under 500. After last night. They're 22nd in defense. They're lacking depth. It feels like they need a shakeup. So, yeah, I'm kind of buying into this rumor. I tend to buy into every single Danny Ainge rumor because he's always got a whole bunch of things to trade. But I think this could actually be a pretty solid trade because it's fair, I think, on both ends. The return for the Celtics, Aaron Gordon and possibly Evan Fournier, they definitely help. Gordon is going to up the defensive versatility that the Celtics have, give you that kind of big wing, sort of small power forward defender that they need. He's just average on the glass, which I think you would need a little bit more beef if you're the Celtics, if you want to, after we saw what happened with the Grizzlies last night, they need some help on the glass as well. Aaron Gordon can be a good passer. The question to me is if Aaron Gordon wants to be a role player. Everybody's saying, just be Draymond Green, play the Draymond Green role. And if he's committed to doing that, if he's committed to doing what the team needs and not necessarily what he wants, he can be a huge help to the Celtics. I think there are problems with Aaron Gordon when he gets too much into the playmaker role, when he's really pounding the ball, when he's not a ball mover, just looking for his own shot. That's not the Aaron Gordon that the Celtics want. They want an Aaron Gordon who is playing like Andre Iguodala on the Olympics team, or Andre Iguodala on the Warriors, or Draymond Green, a guy who does every little thing and keeps the ball moving, scores when they need, rebounds, plays defense. They need all that from Aaron Gordon. They don't need him to go out and score 25 a game and try and get 10 assists. That's just not what the Celtics need right now. I think Fournier, a vet, he can score with the ball in his hands. That's not a huge need for the Celtics right now, but he would instantly be their best player off the bench, assuming that's where he comes from. However, if I'm the Celtics, I'm a little bit nervous to give up Marcus Smart. He's the longest tenured Celtic on the Beantown Boys. He's their best defender. He's their emotional leader. When the Celtics were struggling, everybody was saying things are going to be better when Marcus Smart returns. So the question to me is, how would that affect the Celtics if they trade their emotional leader? It makes sense from a roster balance perspective, I really think, but I'm unsure on the locker room. 2 first-rounders as well to acquire the second and third best players on a brutal team is a bit steep. But it's got to be fair. You know, you got to give up something to actually get something. And Aaron Gordon's a hot name right now. So if the Celtics are ready to up the ante, I can see them making this move. But I'm also ready to have another trade deadline go by with feeling like the Celtics are going to make a move. But they need to. They really need to.
What do you think, Lee? Again, this would in theory have to be sort of 2 moves because let's say with the Gordon coming to the Celtics, that'd probably be trade exception. And then if Evan Fournier is also, if the Celtics are also interested in him, yeah, that's where the picks come into play, of course, and Marcus Smart and stuff like that. But what do you make of this? A couple magic guys going to the Boston Celtics, and especially like Trey said, the idea of giving up Marcus Smart. You know, you're really your emotional leader at times over the last couple of years, and a good player, an incredible defensive player, and having him go for a guy like AG and possibly Evan Fournier. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't like that from the Celtics because Marcus Smart basically is doing all those things that they're going to ask Aaron Gordon to do, and are not convinced he can do those and accept that role, because Marcus Smart has accepted himself, I think, as a role player on that team. He gets shots when the shots come to him, but they don't really run the offense through him. Defensively, he does whatever's asked of him. And yeah, when they're down, he's the sort of guy who tends to keep those guys together. I think he has that respect from within the locker room. Now, if you look at pure numbers, I think Gordon's slightly ahead of him, better shooter and things like that. But I think Marcus Smart brings so much more to that team than just the box score. And I think that would be a big hole that they would leave there, particularly if Aaron Gordon isn't going to be there long term. So, yeah, you're right. Trey's right. You have to give up something to get something. And Aaron Gordon is certainly available. But I think that's a bit of a risk there from the Celtics to give up Smart. Now, look, they're not going to give up Jaylen Brown. They're not going to give up Jason Tatum, of course. So Smart is that next sort of valuable piece.
Right.
But I'm not sure that it really does all that much for the Celtics to improve them. I think if they can somehow get Aaron Gordon, by giving up some of their other younger pieces and perhaps a draft pick, then it's worth it. But that leaves a big hole to me, again, not on the box score for Marcus Smart. In those grinding, tough moments at the end of the game, that's when Marcus Smart brings his value. And I think they will miss that, especially for a guy like Aaron Gordon, who we know can go out and give you 30 points sometimes, but he'll also just go missing for games on end, and you wonder about his intensity and his effort at times. So to me,
doesn't sound like you love it.
No, I don't. I think Marcus Smart, I value his contribution to the Celtics extremely high because, he could have a couple of seasons ago probably left or asked to be traded to go to a team with a bigger role and even get paid more money, accepted a little bit less there, because I think Brad Stevens is like, we need you. But you don't score the points of the guys who get the huge contracts. So, I'm going to reward you by what I need on the court. But you're going to have to, accept less of a pay packet than you could get somewhere else if you want to accept that role. And he did that. So for me, I would be very hesitant to give up a reliable, trusted piece in Marcus Smart, who, as I say, maybe not as offensively gifted as Aaron Gordon, but for someone who you just wonder if Aaron Gordon can even stay focused on the game for long enough in a situation there like that in Boston. So don't like that at all as it is. If there's more pieces and some adjustments made to that trade, perhaps a third team or even a fourth team comes in, maybe they'll somehow replace that defensive intensity that Marcus Smart brings. But on the surface, I don't like where it stands right now.
Here's what I love about trade season. I love that a guy like Aaron Gordon, because his name is popping up like every 3 minutes on every podcast you listen to, guilty as charged, of course. I'm always bringing him up and saying he's going to be traded. I like when Aaron Gordon turns into basically prime Scottie Pippen. Just like how we talk about them. It happens every year, right, Trey? Like where we pick a guy or two and we're just like talking about them nonstop. And we're talking about, like, obviously the positive qualities they bring to a team on the floor, but we just probably go way overboard. This is Aaron Gordon at the end of the day. And again, guilty as charged. You know, I've talked about him, I think, in being a nice, like, addition to, like, the Nuggets or maybe even the Blazers. And sure, maybe the Celtics, though I'm with you a little bit, Lee, don't love the idea of giving up on Marcus Smart here. It reeks a little bit of desperation, which I think the Celtics are at here for maybe a shakeup. But yeah, Trey, you were agreeing with me. We do this with guys, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, pretty good comment from Deso Palancia in the stream team, who says, I can't believe we're comparing Aaron Gordon,
Right?
Raymond, and Andre. Crazy times. You're right. To me, this is the Ramon Sessions Memorial Award, the guy whose value gets really blown up at the trade deadline because they're going to a marquee team. When Ramon Sessions went to the Lakers, I think he maybe coming from the Bucks. I'm not totally sure, but he had these crazy high assist games.
Yeah.
And it was like the thinking was that Ramon Sessions playing fast is going to be the difference for Kobe Bryant out there. It didn't turn out like that, but I remember that trade deadline. We talked about Ramon Sessions nonstop. Ramon Sessions talking about Ramon Sessions. It was insane stuff, but you're right. When those are the players that are out there, you can see how the market gets driven up, right? That's why I would be nervous to give up 2 first-rounders for Aaron Gordon, a guy who has not played to his potential. But in this market, if he's the best player out there and you have 2 first-rounders and you really do want to make a move to try and make some noise in the playoffs, you might have to come up off those picks.
Yeah, and also if I'm the Celtics, I don't got the greatest, history of nailing sort of later picks where I'm picking at because, we're obviously a good team, so we're not like in the lottery. We're getting in those teens and a little bit lower. And truth is, the Celtics haven't done an incredible job lately. There's been some, promising players, but there's a bunch of like, what? You could have had so-and-so, you could have had so-and-so, and they struck out a little bit. So maybe you're more likely to move off those picks is what I mean, because you hadn't had a ton of success, I guess, with your scouting. And, you see first round picks, you see 2 of them, you're like, what for Aaron Gordon? But then you got to catch yourself. You're like, yeah, these are not likely lottery picks here.
Wasn't the rumor that Danny Ainge was going to give up 6 picks from Justice
Winslow? Was it 6? Is that how high it got? I thought it was 4.
Okay, maybe it was 4, and then just internet fame took it out to 6. I don't know, but that's the thing. Danny Ainge has had a lot of success acquiring a lot of draft picks, but then you do have to cash those in and turn them into something great. And he did well with Tatum and Brown for sure. But other than that, they are definitely missing a piece, and this is their worst season that they've had in the last 4 or 5 for sure. That they are really struggling now. Again, everyone's had injuries and coronavirus, and Tatum didn't play last night; he was a late scratch. So they're dealing with the same sort of issues that everyone is. But they certainly look like a team that needs some sort of a shuffle, a lineup change, or whatever it is. But you've got to be careful that you don't just do it just for the sake of doing it, especially with a guy like Andre Iguodala, the comparison to him. I mean, he wasn't the sort of role player that he became in Golden State until he got to that team where it was like, this is where we need, and he was at a later stage of his career. Aaron Gordon, if he reaches the potential that we all sort of see in him with that athleticism and the ability to shoot threes. I think he was shooting 46% from 3 for the first month of the season a year ago, something crazy like that. If he was to reach that potential, then you'd give up Marcus Smart in a heartbeat. But it's like Danny Ainge, he doesn't seem like the sort of guy to me who would make that desperate move just for the sake of it right now. I think he'd rather keep Marcus Smart and see what's available in the offseason, because Aaron Gordon just there's got to be a buyer beware with him.
Well, I'm feeling good about my Aaron Gordon will be traded prediction. We can lock it in. It's happening, man. I don't know if it's the Celtics. Some teams getting Aaron Gordon, so he will be moved, which is, I guess, a little bit exciting. We'll have like a smaller, definitely not a superstar name, but a name that people know that we can talk about wherever he lands. It gives us something there. Because this next one, guys, a lot of you probably have never even heard of this player. He's a Canadian boy. I'll try and say his name correctly. Yeah, the Clippers traded Fiondu Kabengele, all right, and a future second-round pick and cash to the Kings for a protected future second-round pick. This happened yesterday. This is the type of trade we're looking at right now. By the way, the Athletics' John Hollinger called this trade.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Guys, the Athletic has the best NBA writers in the world. Hollinger called this trade like a day prior. It's crazy. Wow. And here's why the Clippers did this move. We're laughing at it, but the moving off the salary here opens other avenues for the Clips, because they now are 2.6 million below the hard cap, because that was going to give them problems here in trying to either they got 2 open roster spots now, so they can use call-ups, or we'll get into the post-deadline buyout. So this does maybe set them up for something here. It also generated a $2 million trade exception, and the Kings, I guess, just taking a flyer on a good old Canadian boy. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to this. I think, again, this is something that's going to lead to something else for the Clippers in terms of the spots and a little bit more money to play with, but anything to add, Lily? You were laughing when I brought it up, so I doubt it.
Look, I was just a little surprised to see this name second the topic in the doc this morning.
Man, we're not taking 10 minutes on this. Don't worry.
I'm not sure how this is going to happen, but I do wonder. You say this does, likely open up the opportunity here for the Clippers. These moves tend to happen in advance of that bigger move happening. It sounds to me like the Clippers do have something cooking there, and they just have to get their, get the money in order first. So. Exciting to see who it is, because I think it'll be
so exciting.
I think the move they're going to make is obviously going to be more significant. So hopefully we get a bit of Clippers talk later in the week.
Okay, great. Trey, I'm not even going to ask you for your
No. I have one last thing to add. You literally covered everything I had to add. Which was that you got to be a true sicko to actually call this trade. Only a former GM could do something like this, because nobody else is getting into the ins and outs of the end of the roster building. But you're right, Lee. It's going to open something up. Maybe it'll be Andre Drummond, LaMarcus Aldridge. We'll see what buyout guy goes into that roster spot that's open. The only other thing I had left to add is that it was nice to see Dwayne Dedmon's name again. That was a guy that we talked about a lot at one point in time. He was a Ramon Sessions, and apparently his trade created this trade exception that Cabbage Jelly went into now. Cool stuff to see Dwayne Dedmon's name again. Shout out. Man, this was wild. Skeets, you did your trade deadline primer, and you're like, I got 3 predictions here. One of them is lame. Then you started talking about the Orlando Magic making a trade, and that wasn't the lame one, man. Nope. That was not the lame one.
Wayne Ellington.
I'm sorry, Wayne Ellington for a second rounder is a blockbuster.
It is. Compared
to this. So you're doing all right, buddy.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, well then that brings me to a fun question here for everybody in the stream team, everybody listening later. Let us know in the comments and tweet at us at NoDougSync. What's a trade you most want to see happen this week? Lee, I'm going to start with you. If you say fucking anything about Bradley Beal, I'm cutting your mic. So just get a little more creative and go somewhere else. What's a realistic trade you would like to see happen?
Well, so we've been talking a lot about the Celtics, and I think there are some better names out there than Aaron Gordon. A little bit older, these guys, but I think they certainly fit what the Celtics need a little bit more. And I think it could be DeRozan or LaMarcus Aldridge. We know definitely LaMarcus Aldridge is available, and DeRozan, I think, probably is too for the right price. And now, they've got that trade exception. Someone who's a little bit more in tune with exactly how that works will be able to tell me if DeRozan can fit into it. I think he can. I believe he can. Because it's a huge one. It's like 28 million. So
but it's really, as I said on the trade deadline primer, if you were listening, Lee, it's actually more of like a 19.9 million because of their books over there. I forget what DeRozan makes off.
He's on like 28 million himself this season.
Okay. So you have to get a little more creative then.
But I think they can figure out a way to get that to happen. But
do you like DeRozan on the Celtics?
Well, I honestly think for this season, because he's an unrestricted free agent next season, if the Celtics don't have to give up all that much, now the Spurs will probably want something in return. But again, if you've got a guy as an unrestricted free agent, you're not going to get a huge return. But maybe Popovich and Buford can just work a first-round pick at him and say, listen, DeRozan's available if you want him. Give us a late first-round pick and he's yours.
If they're giving 2 first-round picks for Aaron Gordon, I think there could be something there.
Yeah, but it could be a rental, though, for the Celtics. Yeah. But I just think as far as you get then a proven scorer, you can rely on DeMar DeRozan. You know what you're getting out of him. He's not a great defender, but he's certainly not a bad defender. And so for where they are this season, it's like, well, let's just see if DeRozan can be the guy that can improve us. He gives us another scoring option against with Tatum and Brown and Kemba Walker there. So if he's available, I think the Celtics would be much smarter to go after him. Then they don't really have to give up all that much. I don't think the Spurs would say, well, we want Marcus Smart in return. I don't think they'd even get it. So there could be something done there. And as I say, LaMarcus, we know he's definitely available. So maybe the Celtics could get him. I think he would be an improvement for this season. And then Danny Ainge, they're not taking on any long-term salary. They get a look at both of these guys. to see if whether or not next season they could fit into what the team's trying to build. So I think there's something there with San Antonio and Boston to almost make a trade. Two teams that just don't like to make those mid-season deals. Maybe there's one there for them this year.
Well, somebody agrees with you in the stream team there, Lily. Yash says he could see, DeRozan being like a Gordon Hayward type replacement. I understand that. That does make some sense there. DeRozan's turned into a really incredible playmaker.
Yeah,
as his career has gone on and on. Celtics could use that. There's a lot of dribbling on that team, a lot of sort of like ISO action. Ball does not move a whole ton. So okay, you're getting creative there with the Celtics Spurs. Yeah, two teams that are known to be making tons of deals. But yeah, maybe this is the year.
This is the year.
Where are you going, Trey? What's something you'd like to see happen this week?
Doubles. Gotta make a trade. I don't know if they're the worst good team in the league or the best bad team. They've been playing all year, smoking the bad teams. Then they go out and lose to the good teams. This is exactly what happened with the Pistons and Jazz doubleheader they had. They beat the Pistons. It wasn't very inspiring, but they beat them pretty easy because the Bulls are better. Then they go out and they get smoked by the Jazz. Not great stuff. Arturas Karnisovas, that guy has been chilling since taking over for the Bulls, and everybody's been okay with it. He's coasting on the good vibes, though, of being the new guy, and it's time to do something. The indications are that the Bulls want to be buyers at the deadline. I think that's great. It's weird to me that the Bulls almost never come up in major market talk when you're hearing people talk about major markets, and that is a problem to me. They're a huge market, legacy franchise. They kind of should be acting like it. They're making a playoff push for the first time in their rebuild since the Jimmy Butler trade. They have tradable pieces. I've put Otto Porter's gigantic expiring contract in every deal possible. Magic fans were pissed yesterday that I wanted to trade Otto Porter, Lauri Markkanen, and a first-round pick for Nikola Vucevic. I understand. He's going to be your all-time leading scorer, Magic fans, but guess what? I also tried to trade Otto Porter for Anthony Davis and Kyle Lowry. I'm going to try and trade him for anybody that's making about $30 million because that's a huge trade chip that honestly needs to be cashed in because Porter's barely in the Bulls rotation. He hasn't really been able to stay on the court, but he could be valuable to a team, I don't know, like the Lakers, like the Clippers, a championship level team that wants somebody who can sop up some minutes, make some threes. He'll be better on a contending team, I think. Lauri Markkanen, another guy, I'd be fine putting in a deal like that Magic deal. He's shooting the ball really well. He has some trouble staying on the court, and he has trouble contributing outside of shooting and some flashes where he takes a guy off the dribble, but he's still talented. He's still only 23 years old. He's a restricted free agent after the season, so if somebody's interested, you get him for the end of this year, and then you have the rights to re-sign him in the summer. Bulls have all their picks. They've got the giant expiring contract, young players. They could be intriguing. They're probably making the play-in regardless, but they could get to the top six if they actually make a move for somebody who helps. Can't be evaluation mode all the time. Let's see something happen here, AK.
Yeah, on the Sunday trade deadline primer, I talked about like all the restricted free agents, Lauri Markkanen being one of them. And I think he is the most likely of like your Collins and maybe even your Lonzos and stuff like that, these RFAs to be moved. I see it. I think there's teams that could talk themselves into it. He is, like you said, Trey, like he can shoot. I mean, the guy's a 40% three-point shooter, 7 foot tall. Yeah, he doesn't give you much defensively. He doesn't give you a whole lot else, actually, if we're being honest. No. He's very Bargnani-like. I hate to bring up that comparison again.
Yeah,
sort of is.
I pulled the list of three-point shooters who are over 7 feet tall. Markkanen already number 6 on the list. At number 2, you guessed it, Andrea Bargnani.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Wow. 7-footers haven't been shooting threes for that long. No. If these guys are top 6.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so what? Dirk is number 1, right? By a mile?
Yes. Yeah, by a mile.
So I could see Lauri Markkanen being moved and the Otto Porter expiring. Yeah. Do they just come to an agreement on a buyout? And is that probably more likely? Probably. But okay, I like this. Celtics and Bulls. Let's hear from everybody again. Who you would like to see get moved this week. I'll move on. Again, go listen to my Sunday primer podcast, trade deadline primer podcast, where I talk a lot about some of the predictions I want to see. And by the time we would say something now, we're so close to the deadline, it'll either just happen or the player that we talked about will be moved to another team. So we'll keep it moving here. We're going to get to the game.
Great correction here by Grant. Channing Frye is number 2.
Oh, good catch.
Channing Frye.
Good
catch. My bad.
Bargnani 3rd.
I think so. I don't know. I got to go check my tweets. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Luke Cornett is 15th, though. Guaranteed Luke Cornett is 15th if somebody is looking for a Lauri Markkanen knockoff.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. People in the stream team saying, how long until Poku is on this list? Not long, baby.
Right, yeah,
not
probably only a
that
season
long if
and he's
Cornette's
there.
15th.
Yeah, right. So, okay, we're going to, turn our attention to the games from last night, though I'm sure that's still going to include some trade talk, Raps fans, because we'll start with the Rockets snapping a 20-game losing streak. I felt good for Steven Silas. I'll be honest. They're off the schneid there. They got a victory. Unfortunately, it came against my team, the Toronto Raptors, who have hit rock bottom for this garbage season down there in Tampa. Lee, where do you want to get started with this? Do you want to talk about the Rockets getting obviously a much needed victory, or the Raptors now losing 9 straight in pretty devastating style? They got their ass handed to them there late in this one.
In the end, they did. Yeah. It was somewhat close there at halftime. I think McLemore was hit like a half-court bomb, and it was almost
house. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like almost like that was a symbol of like, it's just not the Raptors' night. But I don't know. They now have the longest losing streak at the league at 9 in a row, and you got Denver, Phoenix, Portland, the next 3. Now they're in Tampa, so home-ish.
No, it's not home.
Well, that's the problem is so I don't know now, because I've been sort of saying I think the Raptors, with their continuity and experience, all those factors I thought would have come into play by now, but instead it's gone the other way, and 4 games out of 8th in the playoffs. So maybe now Masai Ujiri has changed his attitude towards this trade deadline and thinks, well, may as well see what I can get for these guys, especially because Kyle Lowry, it seems no matter what happens for the remainder of this season, that he won't be a Raptor next season. That seems almost inevitable. So if you can get something for him, and I think, seeing the Clippers making these moves, teams are going to say, yep, now's our time because Kyle Lowry's there. The Raptors may as well cash in on him. So I think that's going to happen. I think there's now going to be some movement, and it may not just be Lowry. It may be some other players there. So, I think Norm is the most likely of the others to go. But, this was just a bad performance from the Raptors.
The Raptors are playing like the worst team in the league right now. I watch a lot of Raptors, and I watch a lot of basketball. They look like the worst team right now. That's the scary part.
Yeah. I mean, this was obviously the game that they could have just win to shake off, because they played well against the Jazz on Friday night there. And it was like, they're close to a victory. So you go from maybe the best team in the league to, one of the worst and get pounded by them. It's bad. So, the Raptors don't think they're even going to make the playoffs. So, yeah.
Well,
Isn't that the end of the streak, the longest active streak?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't talk too much about that. It's one of my answers for a question when we hit the beach later today. But I thought William Liu does a fantastic job of recapping a lot of the Raptors games. He has a podcast, Raptors Over Everything, over Yahoo Sports. I thought he brought up a really interesting point. He was talking today last night in his article about the 2018 Raptors. They used to have a bench unit of Van Vliet, Powell, Siakam, OG, DeLon Wright, and Jakob Poeltl. All 6 of those players now are starters in this league. 4 of them in Toronto, of course, and then the other 2 there, Wright and Poeltl elsewhere. Compare that to what the Raptors have on their second unit now. It's basically Chris Boucher, who is fine for games, but, has not put it together yet in this league. He hasn't shown that. I don't think he's, maybe with the Raptors, starting 5 is maybe a starting center, but it's Boucher is what I'm getting at here. This is why William Liu, and I'm starting to come around on it, thinks you've got to find the best offers right now for Norm and Lowry, because the developmental pipeline for this team is basically bone dry. The Raptors have 7 players who went undrafted. Mm-hmm. On one hand, you're like, wow, kudos. That's pretty cool. Taking the chances, finding these gems, so to speak. But only one of them is Van Vliet, who was, honestly, he was great in this game. He gave it his all. Lowry was Lowry. It's fine. But all these other guys, all these other undrafted guys, this is not something you're to be proud of. You need to get some young talent in here, some picks. And it's great that those guys that I said back in 18, a lot of those guys are starters, 4 of them in Van Vliet, Powell, Siakam, and OG. But there's no bench. And, this team is lifeless. It's brutal. And I really am now wondering if in the next 2 days here, 2-3 days, if Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster, they do it, Lily, and they say, we got to get something here. Because we're definitely, like you said, we may not even make the playoffs, let alone we're not competing for a championship. So Lowry, if he's leaving, let's see if we can get something for him. With his blessing, he sounds like he wants to go to a winner. So you're going to try to get him to the Heat. You're going to try to get him to the Sixers. You're going to try to get him to the Clippers, wherever. And then whatever you can take for Norm, I think you got to cash in on Norm. He had a garbage game last night. but his trade value has never been higher.
He's got a player option, I think, for next season.
Yeah, he does. And he's probably going to opt out of that because he's played pretty well, and he'll probably make himself a pretty decent paycheck. Definitely more than what he makes now. What's he make? Like 10 or 11, right? So
I thought it was a little high, but
okay. So
he's going to get paid more.
So anyway, I thought it was an interesting point from William Liu when you sort of compare the teams from yesteryear to now, and it's depressing as Raps fans. But
we had those T-shirts, didn't we? The Bench Bros T-shirts.
You're right. I wish I was wearing it.
About that.
Yeah, with all the names on the back. You're absolutely right. So we'll see. Trey, do you think they do something here in the next couple of days? Do they almost have to, I guess, is the better way to ask it.
It's time. Call Michael Buffer or Bruce Buffer, whichever one the guy that says, it's time. I think it's Bruce, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Started as the lesser Buffer. Now he's the better Buffer. Wow, what a change. M. Night Shyamalan twist right there. This is a blessing in disguise, though, for the Raptors. It's rock bottom, like you're saying, Skeets. It's time. You never know what's going to happen. Could end up playing out like the Warriors. They had a down year last year with all the injuries. They kind of leaned into it. Steph Curry didn't hurry back from injury. They ended up with the number 2 pick in the draft. The Raptors are pretty low in the draft order right now, but if you trade 2 of your best players, 2 of your most established starters, you're able to get even closer. And as we know, the lottery odds have flattened out. Yeah. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you get a top 4 pick in a draft that apparently has 5 guys who are going to be really solid players right away. I think this could work out well for the Raptors. It's a bummer of a season, but it'll be nice next year when they're back in Toronto with fans in the stands to have Kyle Lowry return and get honored, right? Like it's going to be more fun to have him return to Toronto, having all of the people there cheering for him than it would be in Tampa Bay. So a blessing in disguise for the Raptors. It's a bummer this year, but you still got those Bench Bros t-shirts and you still got a banner hanging. It's all good, Skeetsy.
Yeah, I'm not too upset. How long can I be happy about the championship banner? I just like, how many years?
Have you seen it in person yet?
No, I haven't.
At least until then.
Until I get my eyes on it. Okay.
Yeah, you got to peep it with your own eyes.
Yeah, so we'll see what the Raps do. Again, I think there'll be I think we're getting closer and closer to a move actually being made here. If they can, if Masai and Bobby Webster can find something like, all right, keep it going here. Next game, John Morant, Dylan Brooks lead the Grizzlies past the Celtics in overtime. I was excited for this victory from the Grizzlies. I'm slowly moving off from my Raptors here, of course. I've got a couple other secondary teams that I like. I'm a big Canadian Thunder fan. They got a win last night. I love the Grizzlies because I picked them to make a nice second half run here. I think they're back to 500 now. So I'm excited about that. They still don't have Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he may be still a couple weeks away. I thought he'd be a little closer by now, but he might be a couple weeks still. But yeah, they were helped out by the Celtics missing Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, as you said there, Lee, earlier. But John Morant is so damn special. This guy, 29 points, 9 assists, and some jaw-dropping plays. I mean, he is must-watch league pass material. He honestly is. Dylan Brooks, great game. He's got a punchable face, but 24 points, 7 boards, 7 assists. And if this team can ever add some three-point shooting, look out. And they're young, so this is fine. Like, I would love to see them try and get in to at least the play-in tournament, maybe even the playoffs. But they ranked 29th in three-pointers made and 26th in attempts and percentage. So they could use a little shooting out there. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr., of course, would help as a big guy that can stretch the floor. Is he 7 feet tall? I can't remember what he's listed at.
I bet he's a bit shy.
Yeah, he might be a 6'11"er. So anyway, they have a top 10 defense. They play scrappy. They play hard. And John Morant, you can't take your eyes off him. Did you see the dunk he had? Like Dylan Brooks threw him a garbage pass. Crazy. Oh, JD racking it up.
Racking him up, sausage.
Oh my goodness! Like,
yeah,
I know this comparison has been made. I've said it 100 times, but I don't know how you don't see Penny Hardaway when I watch this. Like when I watch John Morant play. Like, of course, young Penny Hardaway, pre-injury Penny Hardaway. It's just like the explosiveness. And then he had that one on the fast break, and he's like around his back in traffic, and he somehow sneaked it in. I think Tice even blocked it in. Fun stuff from the Grizzlies. Good victory there in overtime when they gave up a bit of a lead and sort of buckled down in OT and got a much needed win. For all these are important wins for them, obviously, to get into the playoff picture there, Lily.
Yeah, the only criticism I will have, and I'm an old man here, so I expect to take a little bit of heat, but the last possession in regulation was just bad execution from the Grizzlies. Took too long, and Morant, not a great three-point shooter, and we've seen him drive this season. Just surprised he didn't do it. That's all. Surprised. But again, that's something that a young player will learn. He was having a great game. And I thought Taylor Jenkins would have just been like, just drive inside like you've done that several times for us in close games in the past, but instead settled for the 3, and it was nowhere near close. But they got the win, so that sort of papers over that crack a little bit. But that's all. He was incredibly fun to watch last night. Even some of his passes that don't even convert to field goals, he goes inside and then just hooks the ball around to someone on the perimeter. And his accuracy and his precision is incredible. So he's only going to become a better player. And just fun to watch, which is great for Memphis because they need someone like him to have the eyeballs, the national eyeballs.
Yeah,
you see Penny Hardaway. I see shades of Derrick Rose when he was a young player, man. That alley-oop, that's the thing that's different. I mean, Penny was such a fluid athlete and had the incredible size, the handles, which I think you see with John, the flashy passing as well. But his athleticism is at another level than Penny. And I think it's at that Derrick Rose, even after going through injuries. If we're talking about backhanded compliments, though, you love to say Dylan Brooks, great player, punchable face. I like this one from Brevin Knight. Something along the lines of, you got to have someone like Dylan Brooks to take these clutch shots, someone who's not afraid to miss. He means it as a compliment.
Yeah.
But Dylan Brooks is shooting 39%.
Yeah.
He is willing to miss, but he did his thing in overtime. The guy who stood out to me, though, Big Beef. Jonas Valanciunas, 16 points, 19 boards, 7 of them offensive. I thought he set the tone for the Grizzlies, dominating inside. Memphis scored 80 points in the paint.
Yeah.
That's a ton of points in the paint, which is also why it's a little surprising that Ja didn't go to the hoop there at the end of regulation. But also a little bit why I think that Aaron Gordon, Evan Fournier cannot be it for the Celtics. They're just softies inside. If you're seeing a guy like Valanciunas go and throw bodies around, throwing Robert Williams around, Valanciunas had a monster third quarter. They just need a real big guy to clean up the glass and just be huge there. Maybe Aaron Baines, maybe they try and get Bainesy from the Raptors, bring him back, smack some people around. I don't know what it is, but somebody's got to do something inside for the Celtics.
Well, hey, Skeetsy, maybe you can relate to this a little bit more than Trey, because I think you and I played a similar position as kids growing up, sort of point guard, shooting guard. And every now and again, you'd get to as you go up in the age groups, there'd be one guy who just kind of goes through puberty early and he just becomes gigantic over one summer.
Was never me.
No, never me either. But then you'd be playing against this guy. And then, like I say, the next summer you come back, this guy's just massive. That's how Valanciunas has been lately for the Grizzlies, really just throwing his body around.
Yeah. I mean, especially in a game where it is a more a finesse game, it really jumps out at you that this guy's just back like the Big Beef, just bodying guys. Yeah.
He is. He's just throwing them around. I mean, that's what it was sort of reported he was going to be like when he came over as a young player from Lithuania. I said, this is a big guy, an athletic guy who can get inside and throw his body. But it took him a few years, like most young kids, to just mature and feel comfortable. Now he feels comfortable. He's got the big bushy beard out there as well. He's an intimidating look out there, but he's doing the job for Memphis. He's been very good for them. So this is a really important stretch for them right now. As you say, only 500, still battling just to get into that sort of play-in tournament playoffs, but could cause some damage if they get there.
Yep. All right. Next game here. The reserves lead the Clippers' huge rally to the 119-110 win over the streaking Hawks, snapped their winning streak. Trey, big takeaway from this.
This was a weird one.
Yeah.
I was up late playing Top Shot, just finished Grizzlies Celtics. The NCAA games are winding down. I think, just got to throw on Hawks Clippers second half. I don't want to be silent up here trying to buy some stupid moments. Atlanta goes up 21 in the third. Ty Lue pulls his starters. I'm thinking, wow. Hawks are going to win 9 straight here, plus 1 over the Clippers. The main knock on the Hawks during their win streak is that they haven't beaten any serious competition. You can only beat the teams ahead of you. Look, nice action. They're going to take down the Clippers. I know they're struggling, but that's a good win for the Hawks.
Yeah.
But then Terrence, I'm a man, baby. And Luke, the Nard Dog Kennard said, not so fast, my friend. 20 points on 8 of 8 shooting in the second half for Kennard. The guy Euro-stepped a half-court heave at the end of the third quarter, drained it. 17 in the second half for Terrence Mann. Some man jams in there. Shout out Ian Eagle. These two guys led the Clippers comeback, brought them back. Kawhi ended it with a dagger 3 from the top. He celebrated like the bouncer for Toronto.
Yeah.
Screaming. You don't see that from Kawhi very often, but this was a great win for the Clippers. Best game of the season, I would say, for Luke Kennard. He's struggled to have an impact, hasn't quite lived up to the contract LA gave him in the offseason. But last night, he gave the Clippers exactly what they were looking for when they signed him or when they traded for him. Somebody who can make shots from the outside, who can create for others as well. If he can take some sort of confidence from this, Clippers depth is going to look a lot better. So that was really nice for the Clippers to come back, especially with two guys who are not their superstars doing it.
Yep, absolutely. The other games, Fox and Halliburton combined to score 58 as the Kings beat the Cavs. Thunder hit 21 threes. SGA had 31 to beat the Wolves, 112-103. Trey, earmuffs. Mitchell and Gobert dominated as the Jazz crushed the Bulls by 25. That's a bad L for everybody in the old pick'em there. The Bucks killed the Pacers 140-113 without Giannis. Bucks are playing phenomenal basketball right now. And the Hornets topped the Spurs 100-97 in the first game since LaMelo Ball's injury. That was a really nice win for them. I actually watched a lot of that fourth quarter action. Terry Rozier, again, a massive bucket, like a huge, like little sort of step back, step to the side three. Eric Collins going bonkers. The guy is clutch, man. They had a graphic up showing the Hornets as like basically the most dominant team in the clutch. Like their offensive rating, defensive rating, number one with a bang in the league. So net rating as well. Yeah, it was wild. In like a close game, 5-point game, 5 minutes or less to go. They've just been phenomenal. So that was a nice victory for them again after the LaMelo Ball injury. And the only other thing I have to add is back to the first one there. I saw Tom Ziller in his newsletter today. We keep talking about Sexland all the time, right, Lily, with Sexton and Garland, which is great. But Ziller says he's all in for Halifax with the Halliburton and Fox. Shout out to Halifax up in Canada there, Halifax.
Totally.
I don't mind. 58 they combined to beat the Cavs. Anything to add to any of those games, gentlemen, as we just lump them all together? You got anything, Lily?
Well, Gilgeous-Alexander missed the game before, and he just absolutely roasted the Timberwolves. Only had 31, but felt like he had 50. That's a bad loss for the Wolves. That's a winnable game for them against the Thunder, and they couldn't get it done. But yeah, Gilgeous-Alexander just brilliant. I mean, he's been great all season. And last night, just a couple of times, because it was close enough in the third quarter, and then he was just the best player on the court last night, easily. Mm-hmm. And that's, Towns should be better than he was. But yeah, really good performance from Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't even know why I was watching that one, but it was one of those, you just sometimes like...
It was close. It got me too. It was close. I turned it on. I was like, wait, these are two of the worst teams in the league. What am I doing here? But I'm a guy who watches every Bulls game, so I'm down with watching that.
Yeah. And I'm watching the Raps.
Yeah, so really impressive stuff from Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, I think there was something going around Twitter last night. Like the Thunder have the average age for their starters is like lower than most like college teams right now. Or at least a couple of college teams. Like they just have so many like guys that are super young. A lot of people never even heard of that they're rolling out there, and they still are winning games. Like, will the basketball gods bless OKC in the draft lottery, like with those ping pong balls? Because they have no right to be this good. They really don't. With a lot of the guys they're starting, and they keep winning a decent amount of games here. So maybe they will be blessed whenever the draft lottery is. I haven't even thought about when that happens.
Who knows?
No clue. Yeah. I don't even know if they've named a date for that. So we'll find out. Okay. Have some sad news here to slip into the show. Hall of Fame forward Elgin Baylor died yesterday at the age of 86. He died of natural causes Monday and was surrounded by his wife, Elaine, and his daughter, Crystal. The Lakers said in a statement, considered one of basketball's greatest players, 11-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA first team, and he was named as one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history. Averaged 27.4 points and 13.5 rebounds per game for his career. 27 and 13 over a 14-year career. Lily, anything to add to obviously the sad news, but one of the best players in NBA history?
Yeah, you mentioned there on the court, a true great. He has a statue outside Staples Center as well, but he was so much more than just a basketball player. In 1959, he sat out a game in protest because he was not allowed to stay at the same hotel as his white teammates, and that led to the league creating a policy which forbid hotels to discriminate against any member of NBA teams. So his impact 60 years ago, standing up to racial discrimination is very notable, and showed that he wasn't just out there, playing basketball. He wanted to have a greater a voice, and it worked. It impacted the league. And furthermore, in the 61-62 season, he averaged 38 points a game, but he only played in 48 games because he was on active military duty and could only play for the Lakers on his weekend passes. So in some sense, basketball was his hobby in that respect, And, you think about the numbers he put up then. Imagine if he was allowed to focus solely on basketball, what his numbers might have looked like. So, just an incredible person. And a fantastic basketball player. A sad day for him and his family and the basketball community.
Yeah, unfortunately, never won a championship because he retired right before the Lakers won one there, like
during the season.
Yeah, that's right.
Season.
Yeah, so obviously he's on the short list for greatest players to never have a ring. No doubt about that. I was watching a lot of his clips because they're being shared yesterday, and people were pointing it out, man. Like, we got the Euro step, as we call it, but should it really be the Baylor step? Like Elgin Baylor was pulling out Euros like back in the 60s. Trey, I know you were watching some of the clips. We were talking about it last night on the Top Shot Hot Boys.
Yeah, I was watching some Elgin Baylor highlight tapes from back in the day, seeing it go from black and white to color. Yeah. Pretty incredible stuff. It's crazy to see somebody doing moves that don't look out of place in the NBA during a game from 60 years ago. But obviously Elgin Baylor, a super legend. The Lakers are one of the two most legendary franchises in the NBA. He's still fourth all-time in scoring, first in points per game for the Lakers. Wow. There's been some pretty decent scorers for the Lakers over the years. Amazing. So for him to still be first, incredible stuff. And then somehow he won Executive of the Year with the Clippers. The Clippers were a joke, a laughingstock amongst the league. He had to deal with a lot of discrimination from Donald Sterling, but he was still able to piece together a playoff team in 2006. They looked like they were upwardly mobile, no doubt about it. Injuries to Sean Livingston kind of derailed them. They weren't able to put it together until recently, but for a period there, he actually had the Clippers looking decent, making it to the playoffs. So no doubt an LA legend.
It was wild. I don't know why this crossed my mind, I guess in watching the clips, that there's probably only like 30 minutes total of Elgin Baylor footage out there for his entire career. Just like a weird thing to wrap your head around. Again, like one of the greatest players ever. And we have hopefully 30 minutes of it. So go watch it. Go fire it up on YouTube today. You won't be disappointed. You're going to be like, oh, 60s basketball. What did that look like? But Trey's right. He was damn athletic, especially for that time. Some of the things he's moving, like some of the English he's putting on the ball.
Did he invent the jelly as well?
He takes a couple that are like, wow, you're right. Where he has that little crazy spin on it, up kissing it high off of the backboard. So go check that out. And sending our condolences to the Baylor family. All right, let's get to tweet of the night.
Tweet of the night. Wow.
Twitter.
On yesterday's show, we played a legendary Lamar Hurd clip. Every clip from this guy gets better and better. Talking for almost a minute and a half about wedgies. Getting that was our 34th wedgie of the season, I believe. It was a blowout. Blazers versus Mavs. A wedgie. Ball gets inbounded. Somebody goes to the free throw line. So there's a lot of time for Lamar and Jordan Kent to have a conversation about wedgies. So our tweet of the night comes to us from Josh Waldron Sucks on Twitter, the genderless toy potato, who says, if that Lamar wedgie call was written as a say what, would y'all have voted true or false? We're talking about a minute of wedgie talk. Phrases mentioned included on an NBA broadcast, wedgietracker.com. I'm dead serious. I'm glad a basketball-minded person got that URL, and historical wedgies. These just came up off the top of the dome in an NBA broadcast. So we got to pull up on our YouTube page. Would you have voted real or fake for Lamar Hurd and Jordan Kent talking wedgies for a minute and a half during a blowout? What do y'all think? If Tass and JD were reading that, would you have believed it's real?
I think I would have gone, you know what? I think he just went a little bit too long there.
Yeah.
I think I'm going fake. I'm going fake on it.
Without knowing, because it's not like Tass maybe he would have. Would he have said, blowout, Mavs up 30, would he have given us the backstory? Yeah, because then it's like a baseball game. You got time to fill. So And we know Lamar, of course, knows about the wedgie. We love Lamar. So, yeah, I probably would have gone false.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially bring up the wedgie tracky.
Oh, the wedgie tracker getting the love. Yeah.
That's too much. Yeah, that's just like, it's almost like we haven't had a wedgie for a while. So he's trying to sort of get it out there and bring attention to it. So
Right. So I was told too, there's been some updates to wedgietracker.com already. Yes. Just incredible work by Ricardo. So we were saying that there should be somewhere on wedgietracker.com the all-time record for wedgies. That's there now. There's actually a nice definition now. The basketball stuck between the rim and the backboard. People might stumble upon wedgietracker.com. And he told me, I haven't found it yet, but there is the Easter egg of me getting a wedgie by Shaq somewhere in this. And so I'll let you guys go. I have an idea where it is, but I'll let everybody else.
I don't know. JD, you got to click that dancing wedgie box.
Yeah,
right
okay.
there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that it? Let's
go ahead, JD. Just click it. See where it takes us. Oh, yeah. Okay, there it is. Incredible work, Ricardo. I love this site's getting better and better, man. Go buy him a coffee. There's a link actually on wedgietracker.com. You can buy Ricardo a coffee there at the bottom. That's
a certified classic clip right here.
Yeah, that is. So we're at 34. We didn't have one last night, but that's okay. We're on pace for 63. You know what I love about that wedgie tracker? I love that little
the way
little waves there. Yeah, it's soothing. Yeah. Okay, great tweet of the night. Let's get to pick 'em results. We can make this very quick. We all had the Bulls to cover the 9.5 line at home to the Jazz. I mean, did JD say we were picking incorrectly? Did he not?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. You can jump on here, JD. You had it right. And we all said, no, the Bulls are back. It's Trey Kirby's fault saying the Bulls are back too many times. Yeah.
So I was thinking that because I listen to a basketball podcast literally every day.
Yeah.
And they never shut up about the Jazz. Like nonstop. They love the Jazz. It's this show, obviously.
Okay.
Where you
constantly, it's the best. They're the best team in basketball right now.
We're saying this all the time.
I feel like you are.
Oh, okay.
Other than Trey saying the Bulls are back, the Bulls are back.
Right.
But he also says it like this.
The Bulls are back.
Oh man!
So how seriously can you take that, man?
Yeah.
Anyway,
fair point.
I mean, somebody should have swerved at the very least. So anyway, a loss for everybody. Drops Trey to 9-4, Tass 8-5, Lee 6-7, and I'm 5-8 because we all had the Bulls to try and keep it close. They lost by 25. I mean, it wasn't close at all. By the way, great job on whoever decided on the screen grab for that Trey Kirby payoff clip that we were sharing on social. Just like nice extension, Trey. Like you really laid out for that.
I was happy that it was a one-take wonder. I got a nice flat zone right there. Some people are saying it might be the new NBA logo, so we'll see.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so tonight's game, Lakers-Pelicans. I think there's 6 games on the docket, and the Pelicans are favored by 6.5 at home. Now, Lakers are without Anthony Davis still, and of course now without LeBron James, without the high ankle sprain. So, Lee, go to you first. So, who do you like tonight?
Yeah, it's a bit of a juicy line for the Pelicans, but I think they can do it. So I'll take New Orleans by 7 or more.
Okay. Well, JD, don't go anywhere, man. I wanted to ask you, just pick for me. I don't just tell me.
Call it
who
the
to go
big
with.
guns.
Yeah, I'm desperate.
Pelicans. I say
okay.
Pelicans. If I'm ever picking, I pick Pelicans.
Okay, I was actually leaning towards Pelicans, so I'm happy to hear that. Trey, you feel like swerving on us too, or are you going Pelicans as well?
I also want to go for the Pelicans here. It's going to be tough for the Lakers, and I always feel like New Orleans has a little bit of revenge game against LA. Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, they want to play well against their former team. Kind of a big line, but I'll go with New Orleans as well.
It is a bit of a big line, What about THT? Watch out for Horton Tucker tonight,
Feels
guys.
like the Pelicans either lose by 30 or win by 20.
I know, they're a weird team.
Yeah.
Weird team to figure out. I'm interested to see who Tass takes tonight. Let's find out.
Give me the Lakers to cover. The Pelicans are going to play down to their competition, and give me a bold Dennis Schroeder game now that he's the number 1 option.
I had a feeling that Tass was going to go Lakers. I had a feeling that's why maybe he threw this game into the document here. Okay, so 3 of us have the Pelicans win by 7 or more. Tass has the Lakers. Fun show. Thanks for joining us. We will be back later today, as I said, to Step on the Beach around 3:30 p.m. Eastern time if you want to join us live on YouTube. Otherwise, that'll drop in your podcast feed as soon as JD can turn around and get her up. Email us your questions, though, for next Beach Steppin' podcast, nodunks@theathletic.com. Like, comment, subscribe to No Dunks on YouTube. Grab your No Dunks merch at nodunks.com. And subscribe to The Athletic already. Go to theathletic.com/nodunks. It's $1 a month. It's official. What a deal. If you're a new subscriber, you've been waiting, get in for $1 a month, especially during trade deadline season if you're an NBA fan. I mean, just the, like we were talking about, Hollinger's calling dumb trades between the Clippers and Kings like 24, 48 hours in advance. Like, get plugged in, people. Go to theathletic.com.
Calling his shot.
That's right. Hollinger, just point. All right. So we will see you later today. Thanks again for joining us, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, I forgot I'm the quotes guy at the end of this now. So just let me show you this book, Trolls, Trolls, Trolls by Art Grandpa Stavig.
Embrace the day, people.
You could stay